Chapter 21 Monsters and Griffins. Angel gave a yawn as she stood up on the tower's balcony. Her newest assignments were bummers. Standing all alone on a wall or a tower where nobody went. I mean, who would want to sneak in a royal launderer's tower anyway? Still, Angel was a guard, and as such, it was her duty to guard stuff. By now, Angel was used to being awake during the day, so her readjustment to staying awake at night hadn't really been easy. She had twice been found asleep by another guard, thankfully not a superior officer, and really missed her friends. Her big golden eyes lazily scanned the sky above her, stopping at the big, bright, full moon. Angel loved looking at it, and often wondered what was up there. She personally thought it was cheese, because Luna had to have something to eat while she was up there. A creak behind her caught her attention, and a bright flash of green just barely missed her. Angel yelped loudly and spun to attack whoever it was, giving a loud snarl. The pony behind her, a dark blue one with a white and blue striped mane, backed away in fear, and soon was the victim of the merciless bat pony beatdown. Angel simply reacted as she brought a hoof up under his chin, then landing a powerful kick to his belly as he rose from her first blow. The pony hit the wall and his image shimmered before melting away to reveal a pony, almost as large as Angel, covered midnight black and full of holes. A sickly color green mane wafted about in a large crooked horn, while a small buzzing could be heard from the translucent wings on its back. Angel's face melted into horror as she saw what she was fighting, tried to jump away before a sharp pain caught her tail. She was pulled backwards and hit her head against the tower wall, causing her to get dizzy. The last thing Angel remembered seeing was a large set of green eyes boring down on her before she blacked out. The changeling stood over the now unconscious bat pony, silently cursing to herself about missing her first spell. Her wickedly glowing green eyes scanned the pony who had gotten in 2 cheap shots on her. She half considered throwing her off the wall.
"Nice one, Gorgon,"
came a slightly hissing voice, and the changeling's head whipped up to see 3 royal guards standing in the hallway, each snickering. The larger changeling bared her teeth angrily and hissed in reply.
"As your future queen, I'm ordering you to shut up."
The guards' faces immediately hardened as their snickers faded away. Gorgon hated it when her own workers treated her like one of them. She was their leader, and as such demanded the respect of one. She wasn't a changeling princess for show. She vigorously reinforced that into this group.
"So, what are we doing about this?"
one asked, and Gorgon returned her gaze to the unconscious bat pony.
"Do we need to impersonate any pony else?"
she queried.
"No, but that one is supposed to be at the gala,"
a reply came. Gorgon studied the bat pony and wondered what to do with it. She could just always leave her here and have her believe that it was just a dream. As a race born in darkness, changelings had a wide variety of ways to disappear. One was altering memories to make a pony believe meeting them was a dream or hallucination. Another was eradicating the memory entirely. Being the future queen of the hive, Chrysalis' own daughter, Gorgon knew how to do both. However, her natural ability to sense the changeling's main food source, love, was perking up at the bat pony. Narrowing her green eyes, Gorgon inched closer to Angel, sniffing her. Silently, she weaved a spell to look into Angel's affections to locate the source of this emotion. Since it was the first spell she learned, Gorgon easily peered into the bat pony's emotions, trying to locate the source of love. Every changeling had to learn this spell. It was how they often changed into a specific pony without knowing anything about them. It was also how Chrysalis jumped into Princess Cadence's role without any pony knowing she met Shining Armor first. Gorgon suddenly felt a surge of love within the bat pony and saw the image of a royal guard who had an orange pelt, brown mane, and vivid red eyes. She even saw the pony's cutie mark, an exploding rock and a white tail, and grinned to herself. While the changelings were feeding on the other royal guards who were entranced down in the armory, Gorgon herself was rather hungry.
"Get out of here,"
she whispered to her subjects, who looked at each other curiously.
"I know what to do with this one,"
she continued, grinning wickedly at the sleeping bat pony. Comet woke up to a pretty violent sneeze. He jerked back, wide awake, and looked around. Outside of his vision, he felt something rather large shift next to him, and he slowly looked down to see Valerie's white plume of feathers shift as they wiggled closer to Comet's chest. A sense of horror crawled up in his chest, as well as one of caring. He'd slept next to Valerie all night, and while it horrified him, Angel may have seen this, he felt very refreshed, like one does after a really good night's sleep. He sat there unsure of what to do before looking up at the clock. Well, it was more of a magically charged sundial than a clock. The sundial reacted to the rising sun, since Celestia didn't raise the sun at exactly the same time every day. It was hard to tell time in Equestria, but some genius unicorn thought of a sundial that reacted to the sun's presence to keep time. As of now, the dial read about 9 in the morning. Comet silently thanked Celestia it was the day off. After slowly waking up Valerie, who protested by burying her face farther into Comet's side and nipping at him playfully when he moved, the two made their way down to the mess hall to get breakfast. It was a rather nice day outside of them, but that was before they learned the windows were magically made to let sunlight shine through the stained glass. In reality, it was a gray and cold day outside, one that sounded the alarm of snowfall. However, this didn't really bother Valerie, since the Griffin Kingdom was always cold with its location north of Equestria. After the two finished breakfast, they went to check on Angel, but found her sound asleep with a nurse tending to a large bump on her head. Comet was visibly worried, but the nurse assured him that she would be all right. "It's actually quite common for ponies who aren't issued helmets," she said as Comet stood over the sleeping bat pony. "Now, go on. I'll tell her you came by." As the Pegasus and Griffin walked away, neither one noticed the nurse's eyes flare a bright green. "So, what you want to do today?" Valerie asked. "Well," Comet scratched his head unsurely. "I was going to take Angel out on another date, but I guess that's not going to happen. I even rented a boat to go out into the lake." Valerie stood there and felt an evil smile perk at her sides of her beak. "You know, you and I haven't just, hung out in a long time." Comet's head just turned as she pressed on, hoping that he wasn't going to get mad at her. "I had the day off too. Why don't we just go out and, relax? Me and you. Nobody else." Comet had the creeping suspicion Valerie wanted to monopolize of Angel's absence, but she didn't hint at any ulterior motives. He contemplated the idea of just he and Valerie spending the day together before coming up with the answer. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that sounds fun," he said with a nice but awkward grin. Several hours later, Comet and Valerie were walking down a street in Canterlot, smiling and talking to each other. The day, even though it was gray and started to snow, was going surprisingly well for them. Comet wore a new scarf Valerie insisted he buy to keep himself warm, a rather plain brown-colored one to match his mane and tail. After acquiring the scarf, the two had gone to the train station and sat on a bench, watching the random ponies walk by. There, the duo just talked about everything, including why Valerie was here instead of the Griffin Kingdom. She explained that since her father was a high-ranking soldier in the kingdom, she was a prize griffin since she probably carried future great warriors. She also told of how one griffin got stone drunk before the night of the picking, a ceremony where male griffins competed for female griffins, and tried to force her into an alleyway. Valerie, according to her own words, beat the ever-living daylights out of him so bad that he had to go to the hospital. What happened next was a series of honor and pride-based mishaps. The griffin's father claimed that unless Valerie's father either banish her or repay his family's lost honor, there would be a feud between the two families. Valerie's father was extremely unhappy with her, but in no way got violent. Instead, after hearing Valerie's side of the story, he made the claim that the griffin's own son had shamed the family by going outside of tradition. Thus began a war of words that got heated to the point where the lord of the village, a griffin by the name of Hookclaw, settled the dispute personally. Valerie would be banished, and she would be taught her place by being whipped publicly. The Griffin's son had to live with the fact that he dishonored himself and his family, and then suffer the consequences thereof. After the proclamation, Valerie's father consulted with Hookclaw personally, and after much convincing and gifts, he finally agreed to let Valerie not be whipped. Instead, she would suffer only a partial banishment to Equestria, where she would learn what is to happen should she undermine the Griffin's authority again. Comet simply sat there, stunned at what he'd heard. Apparently, Griffins were more barbaric than he initially thought. Comet, in response, spent the rest of the day doing whatever Valerie wanted, and making her punishment less of one. The two ate at a fancy restaurant, since the Griffin Kingdom solely had just taverns. They went to an art museum, since Griffins felt weapons on the wall were art, and so on. Eventually, the sun sank below the horizon, and Comet, along with Valerie, sat on the roof of a building, watching the sky change colors. Comet sat still, marveling at all the colors, while Valerie had a hard time concentrating on anything but him. She hadn't told him about the one thing from her homeland, the rumor of Equestria being a safe haven for any Griffin like herself. Now that she was here with Comet, it felt like a dream. She had come to Equestria without cutting ties with her family. It meant a wonderful and caring stallion, and almost didn't want to come home. Comet, although not a Griffin, certainly had the build of a full adult stallion, muscular and strong, while gentle and caring at the same time. He was handsome to Valerie, in a way that no other Griffin could match his fiery red eyes, brown mane that moved in the wind, and a smile that she never wanted to see leave his face. Comet looked over to Valerie, who had a dreamy look on her face, and chuckled. "So, I take it you enjoyed today?" he asked. Valerie answered by pressing her beak to his mouth yet again. Comet just sat there, wondering just what he was going to do. He had a cute and fun bat pony on one hoof, but now felt a strange force vying for control of his feelings.